Historically, when we were first born, it cradled our bodies. It provided cover, warmth, and protection. And it was one of our most highly valued possessions, showing wealth, status, and celebration.
Mix up mamang o may mamang rafiki mamang nga o mamang sa mo.
For me, I wanted to see when hiapo existed and it was in memory.
I will always hold it very dear to my heart.
I was just as surprised to learn that Māori made Tapa cloth.
This cloth has migrated with us throughout the Pacific. But how has this cloth endured time? And what is its significance and value to the different islands today? This is our Taonga across all of Moana Nui, Kiwa, and these are some of the tales of our Tapa makers. In Samoa, there are only a few women still practicing this age-old art form. We call our tapa siapo. 2 women on Upolu are carrying on the siapo tradition, using the upeti board rubbing technique with tools handed down to them through the generations.
My great-grandmother Whenever nga nga mo kay nga pakay di whangau. Ia noang whaakingo le whainga sia po ia ise ngau isesi o la po loki whaawau le kāringa. O mai nga o le mea singa sa mo wale koe ko kiringi sila pakawai nga mapai. Mo sia po ngai koe kulanga la leo ni. Whainga kā o longa ngau singa.
Ia. Sa maso ai malimo ele.
Sa whai me tanga. Ela pala whai me tanga.
Are there any changes that you've noticed or seen?
Swinga leva e mamang kiringa Kiwa mix up mamang o may mamang rafiki mamang nga o mamang sa
O yengi swinga forward ai yai ho whao o kai kanga.
Kirero la so pena pai ni o kai pui o kene ma o kai o kai o kai pui ele clean ele lau ai nei se mamang
O ke lea langa mea o whainga o
instead of pusa ia kei se ka mali ka whakaua
Be o sola. Ua o sola le fusa i Taonga ia.
at the moment that I'm making a mo le o ka ia vahenga whai na ko me ka te me ko culture and traditional ways. It's a really design.
Where do you end up getting the extra level from?
You get it from Hawaii. Pela whakakainga o waipua. E le whaisia pona o waipua. So e ola ma o whakau me le ua la ko. E o meila i o ma o whai. So e maua la ko kuke maua e ma ua le la au. Ngā ruenga pui lea. E le mpai e whai whakasia e wawarua whainga manga
Try doing it yourself, and then you'll understand how important it is and the value of it.
I didn't start making first. For me, I didn't want to make first. I wanted to make sure that my community wanted hiapo first. Hiapo only exists in museums and institutes, private collectors' homes, people who have money to buy museum artifacts. And so for me, I wanted to see where Hiapo existed. For Niue people, it's in memory, it's in stories. It's not really in books. You can't find information about it. And so I needed to go to my people. When I went to my grandparents to ask them about Hiapo, my grandfather actually had strips of it inside his drawer that he would use to light, to heat up, and then you put them on joints. And so it was a real practical thing, Hiapo. And so remembering it for what it was, its practicality and not art, was important for me. And when I went back to Niue, there weren't harvestable plants. No one knew the knowledge of how to make the dice. No one was using the old paint brushes that are free from the bush.
Have you been influenced or have you been supported by other artists in reviving this?
I had read in a journal about Niue that Samoan missionaries had visited Niue. I wanted to go that route, and everyone goes to the Tongans because they're like, yeah, they make all this giant tapa, but what I wanted to do was go to the closest historical route, so I went Samoa, and Samoans have siapo mamanu, which is freehand, and so that's very close to Niue and Hiapo. I've used those processes with our plants in Niue. I usually work on the ground of the lounge just because it's easier to get a scope of the layout of my larger pieces. I usually have my toolbox here, and it has a collection of the pandana seeds that I use to paint with, so they're my paint brushes. The process of gathering all this memory, people weren't really open at the beginning. They didn't want to share. And in Niue, you pass down to your blood. You don't pass down to everyone, but that's how forms like Hiapo were lost, because we didn't pass them outside of our lines. Ancient knowledge is something you need to respect and you have to earn. Reviving for me isn't just making, it's creating a sustainable system of learning for other practitioners. And if I teach my bloodline, so then it's a ripple effect.
Were you able to get support from, say, your grandparents, or did they have memories of how Hiapo was made?
My nana and grandpa specifically remembered how old people were wrapped in cloth and buried. And so when they mentioned about that, I wanted to do that for them. And that's the only reason I started making. And I thought that if I ever had the opportunity to make my grandparents' burial cloths, maybe I'd make them and just stop making. My next trip to Niue was meant to be with my grandfather to show him where the patterns that I draw come from. Just by chance, the day that he died was the first time he ever saw me beat on my tutua. The first and last time. And that piece, I was able to use all the knowledge that I had to give him the best patterns. For me, that was the moment where I knew I was meant to be a maker.
When I look at Masi, I look at not just a piece of bark cloth. To me, it's so important because I look at the many hands that created this one little piece. The planting of it, the harvesting, peeling the bark, the pounding of it. The final item is the printing. It's all that work that goes towards making a piece of tapa. We don't need to revive it because it's still very much a part of our lives today. I think it's still very important. I think a lot of the generation today take it for granted because they live there. The kids that are born overseas, they treasure it more because it's just different.
It's part of their culture.
Their heritage.
Are your children interested in Masi?
I think it's natural for them because they see me every day, so in a way I'm blessed. The interest is there, and they are now slowly coming on board to work with me. It was hard to adapt to European material compared to traditional material. I tried all kinds of material, even recycled paper. But I found this awesome material, which is remade. And of course I use the textile ink as my ink. It works well on Masi as well as the remade. In Fiji, of course, they have the traditional ink. So there's the difference between my work and the Masi from Fiji. As an indigenous Fijian woman, Masi is very, very important to me. It speaks of all these different hands that created the Masi. And it belongs to, not to one person, but it belongs to Vanua, belongs to the land. I will always hold it very dear to my heart.
I'm a cloth maker. I make ote in Aotearoa. I love this practice. I've been learning how to do it for about 6 years.
Up until today, I hadn't known that Māori make or have a history of making ote or a form of tapa, so this is pretty exciting.
I was surprised to learn that Māori made tapa cloth, and I had to go to Hawaii to learn that, and I think that's part of the reason why I was so determined to learn about it, because of my own ignorance. We used it in our hair, and we used it for small things. We used it rolled up in our ear. We also used it for making kites. That's where the word manu ote comes from. There's probably a lot of things we don't know about our tupuna. Ote wasn't something that we learned about, and that's probably because we have such strong weaving traditions and carving traditions in Tāmoko. I grew up with tapa around. We're very used to seeing it. That's when I started doing a little bit of research, and I found tools. So we have got about 15 Māori beaters in our museums. They say that the plant, which is called paper mulberry, which came from Southeast Asia and throughout the Pacific, and they say that it became extinct in Aotearoa, but there's still places like Peote that have plants, and they say that they've always been there. I don't know if it did go extinct or if those trees actually do whakapapa back to when it was first brought from Hawaii.
Is what I get from you.
Maile Andrade, one of my teachers, told me about Māori tapa cloth. He teaches people stone tool production methods. So I made this beater. So we use toki, we use hoanga, and shells, pipi shells. So we don't use any like power tools or anything. So this was like I used the toki and pipi shells on the handle, and then I used shark's teeth to make the grooves. I'm surrounded by really supportive mentors and practitioners. Everyone's been pretty encouraging.
My name is Surieti Barros. I come in from a little island in Vava'u in Taonga called Wharewai. I've been here 41 years. We go this Tapa Ngatu. But this a small one, we do this Tapa Ngatu.
When you were little, did you see ngatu being made?
This all I do is just watching my mom, my sister, the people over there in the island, they call it kokaanga. Every month, everybody making their fetaaki, but they all have a theme. My mother doing this month, next person the next month, and they keep going for 12 months. When my day, they all get together and everybody bring their piece. They do the ngatu together and make launima that's 50 feet long.
I used to just watch her doing whatever she could to provide for the family, and I used to watch her in this room just doing painting. Yeah, and I thought, oh, I might give that a go. So I was painting from a young age. So my bedroom was completely covered in ngātu from my grandmother. I grew up with it and it was just so warm. I just remember I used to wake up feeling it every day. It was right there. It just reminded me of an earthy cloth. Tapa cloth is like gold. To some women, you know, diamonds and gold is important, but this to me is like gold, just knowing how much work goes into it to make it so flat. The amount of hours, the power the women have, you know, to be able to bash it out. What I really want to do is to spread our Tongan culture. I want the world to know who we are, and I know I can do that through the art. They're pretty proud, like family members, especially people in whalewai. They're just like, yay, whalewai! It's making it on the map.
Yeah.
And it's great, it's proud, it makes me proud. I want to promote where we're from. So to do that for the people as well is massive for me, as well as it is for my mother. I'm very lucky to have her as my mother.
Yeah, I'm very proud. She says, you know, this my people, because there's nobody in our village, they go out and do this type of work. The island I born from Wharewai, the island is beautiful to see you going and do a good things. You know, these people, they are very proud.
And you're giving back to your island, eh?
Yes.
That's so cool. This amazing cloth has stood the test of time from the earliest days of ancient Polynesia to its various uses in Aotearoa today. It's our ultimate intergenerational taonga right across the Moana. And I'm glad my daughters and their daughters will still know what it's like to work with tapa.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.